Not North Carolina. Sorry, guys, I get silly. So welcome to part 3 of our 10,000 pounds of cotton project. A quick update and thank you for helping us fully fund our crowdfunding campaign. For the 10,000 pounds of cotton project, we sold 2,065 t-shirts, which is very exciting. Yay, yahoo! Thanks, Crystal. Thanks, Rosalinda.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Devin. I'm Amy Dufault, the Communications Director for TS Designs, along with TS Designs President Eric Henry, our Solid State Brand Manager Courtney Lockmer, and Rosalinda Cruz, who's our Director of Strategy and Development. And these are all titles that have many other titles behind them, as we all have. A big welcome to Andy Long, who's the VP of Sales and Marketing at Parkdale Mills SpunLab division. SpunLab is an independent, privately held yarn manufacturer with over 100 years of expertise and combined experience in ring spinning, which I had to look that up. And not everybody knows what ring spinning is. Raise your hand if you do. Oh, okay, all right. 3 people that I can see. So it's a method of spinning fibers like cotton to make a yarn, if I'm wrong on that. Thanks, Scott. SpunLab is also the 3rd stop on our supply chain tour as part of the 10,000 pounds of cotton project. So we're excited to tell you more today about Andy and SpunLab as part of the 10,000 pounds of cotton project, and about some of the opportunities as well as challenges ahead without proper support for making apparel in the United States. And just a fact, did you all know that around 2% of what we wear today is made in the United States versus 95% in 1960? So we're excited to be part of the 2%. So I'd love to introduce you now to Eric Henry, who's TS Designs president, and who's going to give you a quick overview of how TS Designs created Solid State Clothing and where this 10,000 pounds of cotton project came from. Eric.
Thank you, Amy. Everybody hear me okay? And again, thank you so much for joining our call today. I hope everybody is safe and healthy at home. It's still some crazy times out there. So Amy and I are doing our part of safe distancing and wearing our masks. So hopefully you can hear us okay and won't be too muffled out. Again, thank you so much for joining us. A little bit how we got here, as Amy said, this is our 3rd cotton conversation. And this really got jump started again in May of last year when COVID pretty much disrupted TS Designs, but got us thinking differently on how we connect with our supply chain. And it was interesting when I came down today and I was meeting with the plant manager, he brought this box out. And this is a t-shirt that we did over 10 years ago for a brand that has now been retired called Cotton of the Carolinas. So it's been our vision for many, many years that we want to go dirt to shirt, all in the Carolinas, in a completely transparent supply chain. And what happened with COVID, it was a wake-up call to how do we build more local resilient supply chains. So we took a brand that we started a couple years ago and came up with it, doing it and launched it called solidstate.clothing, which is a business consumer brand handled by Courtney, who is helping us with the call today too. But get this information to the consumer, because what we believe is we have an opportunity to build a new supply chain coming out of COVID. We want to build a supply chain that's not only domestic, transparent, but equitable. Another thing that we discovered coming out of COVID is commodity agriculture is broken. We've been working with the Burlesons now for over a dozen years, and I was talking to Andrew Burleson back in May. He was literally planting seeds 25 cents under his cost. We're asking a farmer that's got the most to invest, the most time, the most risk to plant cotton, not knowing if they're going to make any money. 40% of farm revenue last year came from government subsidies. That model is not sustainable. So that is why we launched the 10,000 pound project thanks for those that supported the first chapter of that, which is the direct to consumer. Now we're switching to the wholesale version of that. But what we want to do is we want to meet the farmer where the farmer is and make sure the farmer has an opportunity to make money. So this is our chance to circumvent the commodity agriculture market. So if you've seen by the video, we told Andrew, well, we agree with Andrew. We didn't tell him anything, I should say. He wanted 75 cents a pound, and the market said 50 cents a pound. So we documented that in a video in May. It says, we will pay you 75 cents a pound. So that cotton was harvested back in October of this year. And since that time, we've had an opportunity to interview Andrew, and then we met with Wes at the gin last month. And this is where we spun off the cotton conversation, because we believe it starts with education, making sure the consumer aware of what's going on. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today, being a part of this journey, and help us build a more sustainable, transparent, equitable supply chain. So again, thank you so much today. We're going to get in. I think we'll watch a quick little video here, and then I'll introduce Andy. We'll talk about what happens here at SpunLab's. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity being on this call today.
Thanks, Eric. You're always like so passionate. I always get me fired up. I'm like, yeah. All right, we should jump on in. So yeah, so we're kicking off today's conversation with a video of SpunLab's operations. The video talks about Parkdale Mills, which is the parent company. I hope I'm saying that right, Andy, of SpunLab, and then followed by a Q&A with Andy, and then we'll be taking your questions from the chat box. So Courtney, I don't know if you can you share that video.
Hi, this is John Criswell. Welcome to Manufacturing Marvels. Today, we're with Parkdale Mills in North Carolina. For over 100 years, Parkdale has led the yarn manufacturing industry with a keen focus on innovation and excellence. Their vision for the future is centered on a culture of skillful research and development to deliver cutting-edge solutions that improve lives and sustain the planet. Parkdale proudly manufactures over 1 billion pounds of spun yarns per year, and they are making a positive impact. Can you imagine a world without plastic pollution? Textile products made with their revolutionary Ciclo fibers reduce the persistence of synthetic microfibers in our oceans and synthetic textile landfill accumulation. Ciclo is a proven technology which catalyzes biodegradation of plastic-based materials. Their dye-true polyester dyes 30% faster and at 25% lower temperature than conventional polyester, thus using less energy and water. The result is a more sustainable and cost-effective method of producing polyester-dyed fabrics. Today, Parkdale is the largest consumer of cotton in the United States and is one of the largest spun yarn producers in the world, with 29 manufacturing plants in the United States, Mexico, and South America. Their commitment to excellence and sustainability to our environment has ranked Parkdale as one of the top private companies in North Carolina. Come see Parkdale Mills at parkdalemills.com. This is John Criswell for Manufacturing Marvels.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you, Courtney. Now there you go.
Yeah, let me get you guys all, gotta get you all spotlighted so we can see you front and center. And Courtney, if you can open up the chat, that would be awesome too. So if anybody has questions for Andy and about SpunLab and the 10,000 pounds of cotton project, you can put them in there, and then I'll work my way over to those questions after Andy and I talk a little bit. So Andy, why don't you, maybe you can tell us more about what SpunLab is doing as part of the supply chain for the 10,000 pounds of cotton project.
Okay. First, I'm Andy Long. We we at Parkdale and SpunLab appreciate the opportunity to be a part of the 10,000 pound project. We like what you stand for and what it's trying to teach the rest of us, all of us, how important that the farmer is in this. At SpunLab, so we take from the Rolling Hills Gin, the last step on the process. We take cotton, raw cotton. Looks something like this. I don't know how well it's showing on this video here, but we take that. We go through several cleaning processes. We go through, start taking trash out of the product. When it comes to us, it's been ginned, but there's still seed fragments, some vegetative matter that came out of the field. And as you can see, when we come to the next process, which is card sliver, it's more aligned, and the seed fragments and vegetative matter has been taken out.
It's like a very loose cotton ball.
Yeah, it's just being held together by the friction of the fiber.
Right.
So as the process goes, you'll basically, spinning is about, you take this fiber, you stretch it, and you add twists to get smaller and smaller. So the next step in that process would be roving after, and it's not that simple. You go from carding to drawing, two processes of drawing where you double to get more uniformity and ensure the proper qualities of the fiber. You go to roving, which is about the size of a pencil. Again, not a lot of twist, it just pulls together very easily. This is the process before spinning, where you will, again, elongate, add twist to get it to the size you want. And that gets you to the yarn stage, which is what we will ship from here to Contempora for the knitting process going into the t-shirt, or the fabric that goes into the t-shirt.
So the facility that we're at today, and how many square feet are we here about?
We're approximately 200,000 square feet.
This is one of many Parkdale's facilities.
29 facilities. All but 2 of those facilities are in the United States. We have one in Mexico and one in Colombia, South America. All yarn producing or fiber producing. So Parkdale is a very innovative company. We don't wait just for others on the outside to develop new things. We're even developing new fibers. I'm kind of getting into some of the other subjects maybe, but we've got scientists, chemists, engineers on staff that develop, and it was mentioned in the video, Dytrue, very innovative polyester fiber, and Ciclo, which we're looking to be the polyester that Parkdale offers in the future. It is a fully biodegradable polyester.
One thing I want to go back, I know Amy got some questions, but I think it's important, is the relationship of our supply chain. Is that, when we met with Wes last month, and we agreed with Andrew to buy his cotton at 75 cents a pound. But we need the expertise of Andy and SpunLab to produce a quality yarn so we can produce the fabric that we want to produce. So instead of me just shipping this to them, they get the fiber report from Wes, and then they analyze that report and says, this is what we can do with it. So, the advantage is not only the transparency to the consumer of this, but also the transparency of the relationship of connecting you with the gin, or your experts, not Andy, but there's people at Parkdale that's their job.
Correct.
To making sure that this is going to make that.
So we're very conscientious about the specs that we dictate for our cotton consumption. So for a ring spun yarn, they're different than an open end yarn, different than a vortex yarn. Those are our 3 types of spinning here at Parkdale. So on the ring spun yarn, you have to have a little higher specs, a little longer staple, a little more uniform. You don't want as little as possible any kind of immaturity in the cotton. So the micronair has to be consistent. And so we actually furnish Wes a list of our specs, and then Wes sends back bales specific to those specs, and it works. It worked out great. We've got all of our specs covered that we're very comfortable with making a quality product for you. And that's again upfront work that has to be done so that we don't get to the point of it they start knitting it.
Right.
And a lot of times it doesn't show up, as most of us know, until dyeing and finishing. So you get a lot of grayish fabric in a warehouse, yarn in the warehouse. Carolina Cotton Works starts dyeing this stuff, and you start seeing immature fibers or something like that. So there's a lot of work that goes in on the back end before we ever spin the first pound to make sure that we've got a substrate that we can start with that's going to ensure quality yarn, in turn quality fabric, dyeing, meet your standards.
As I like to say, a lot happens from that dirt to shirt.
And a lot happens.
And the other thing that we're so fortunate of is we can do all this in the Carolinas. You know, we're right, this facility is right outside Augusta, Georgia. And so, but again, it's all here. So we can bring people together, and that's a nice thing, not only transparent, it's pretty much local. You know, we can connect locally. So, but again, thank you so much, Andy, for a quick overview of what you do here. I'm going to kick it back to Amy because I know she's got some set question, and we'll kick it back to the chat channel.
I like going organic as well with the conversations. You know, I think it's been really interesting too, is my first time really following a supply chain from beginning to end, that even just being on our emails, the correspondence that happens for this t-shirt, and how awesome it is that you can just talk with Andy, or you can talk to Wes, you can talk to Andrew, and really see what's going on and fix what needs to be fixed, or just know, you know, in real time how things are going. So, Andy, we had a good conversation like a couple of weeks back, just talking about a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But one of the things I thought was interesting, that you were saying that your special projects had gone from maybe 1 in 2019 to 8, somewhere between 8 and 10 this past year. So can you talk more about why there's more of a demand for these kind of smaller projects, and why you see them as important to support?
Sure. And you're talking about farm direct programs primarily, what we're speaking about here. And Parkdale, as most of us know, again, by the video, we're a very large company, and Parkdale plants are commodity plants. SpunLab, our specialty division, is set up to handle small runs. We do blends, we do multiple fiber blends, we do colored yarns, and we're able to do projects like this, where we couldn't put this into a Parkdale plant and keep it segregated so that we have just Wes's or Andrew's yarn, Andrew's fiber. But so we've done, like you said, like you mentioned, Amy, this year, we've even had one scale up to go into the Parkdale plants for the first time, where we did probably 70,000 pounds for this one particular farm direct program last year. We just gotten large enough, we've moved it to the Parkdale plant. So, and that would be everybody's goal, I'm sure. But we're very excited to work with all these farm direct programs. And I think what you're seeing, Amy, is, to answer your question, is more and more people just want more and more transparency. So we're doing one now for a Georgia hospital organization for scrubs specific. So it's going to be a Georgia grown, and it's going into Georgia scrub. So we're excited to work with any and all, because most of them have a cause like yours, like this Georgia scrub program. Most of them have a reason that they want to be transparent. They know the farmer, they know the spinner. In most cases, they know the knitter, dye finisher, and the cut and sewer. So yes, we continue to see this grow exponentially. I mean, I assume this year we'll do many more than 10. That's my full expectation.
No, I was going to say our goal, Andy, and with everybody's help, we want to grow this program to, as you said, to 100,000 pounds, so we get the economies of scale, brings our costs down. Right. But remember, that 100,000 pounds will be farmer negotiated price. And I want to spend a little time on that too. In the way, and working with Andy Parkdale for many years, is we negotiated the price that we're going to pay the farmer. And we gave that information on to Parkdale. But what Parkdale, they come in and buy the cotton, and then we're end up buying the yarn from you with that price factored into it. So we have an assurance from Parkdale. That's how they operate, because they want to make sure their people will look at the specs and all that. I'm not just dropping my cotton off here. But we make sure the farmer is getting the price that we negotiated, and that just factors into whatever our yarn cost is. But again, we need your help to get this thing to 100,000 pounds next year.
Right. And off the script too.
Yeah.
A dime in the cost of cotton, it's very, very minuscule in the cost of a shirt.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Or even 20 cents. I mean, whatever. I think it was a good bit more than the cotton market at the time when you paid 75 cents.
Yeah, the market at the time was 50 cents.
Agreed to pay 75 cents,
All right. So I'm going to bounce back and forth. So Todd Copeland is asking, it's kind of sort of around one of the questions I had for you. So I'll just use Todd's question instead of mine. Hi, Andy. Can you describe ring spun in more detail and pros and cons compare with other types of, I guess is it open end spinning? And Eric, for the solid state shirts, do you specify ring spun yarns for quality attributes?
So ring spinning, Parkdale has ring spinning, we have open end spinning, and we have vortex spinning. And those are the three major types of spinning in the US and the world. So ring spinning has more processes. Ring spinning does more, there's more process to align the fiber, to ensure uniformity, to ensure evenness, and to ensure the hand feel of the fiber, the yarn, and in turn the fabric is better with ring spinning than it is with open end spinning. And that's just because of the nature of the business, nature of the process. The ring spinning is what it's, you've got a ring that circulates around the spindle, and that the yarn is tucked into that ring, and it helps to twist and goes on to the bobbin. By ring spinning it, the fibers are somewhat concealed or elongated and twisted. With open end spinning, you have a different type of process completely. It's air and it's centrifugal force, and the fibers kind of just get in every which direction and then get processed by twisting, get put on the comb by twisting. Open end is a good product for printed t-shirts, for a lot of different things, underwear. It is, there's nothing wrong with open end. But from a hand standpoint, ring spinning is always going to give you a better hand feel than the other two processes.
And to answer Todd's question, Todd, thank you so much for jumping on with us today, is that we have always specified a ring spun product. You know, we realize we're not going to be the low cost producer, so let's make sure we produce the best product. Now, one thing that we, and again, I'll need some help from Andy on this, that we have, because of the upland cotton is what we grow in this area, we have to go with a little bit heavier yarn than some of these lighter weight t-shirts you see out there, the 30 singles. So this Cotton to Carolinas I showed you in the box earlier, the shirts we'll be doing this year, is a 20 singles ring spun. Right. And so it's a little bit heavier, so that kind of helps us utilize the yarn, the cotton that's available in this area, because we want to produce a good product, but also make sure we support the farmers here.
Right. And that's, yes, Parkdale is very farm centric as far as our mills goes. So or gin centric. For a plant in South Carolina, we try to buy from gin merchants in that area, so that we, trucking the cotton is a big portion of the cost in the raw material. So yeah, we agree with that concept.
Hey, Andy, one of the questions that I'd written down, I'm going to sort of pick it apart a little bit. So when we were talking about what the difference is between, say, like a TS Designs or a solid state t-shirt versus like a fast fashion brands t-shirt that falls apart a lot more easily, what would be the difference between the two?
Well, I think that's as much in the garment manufacturing, and Eric may be able to speak to that better than me. As far as the yarn goes, you've got your input substrate, and that's very, very important. Yarn is the starting point of the fabric. So whatever you put in the yarn into knitting or weaving is going to be what you get out. And as I said, we're very stringent with our specs. So we make sure that the micronair, the strength, the length, the color, the trash level, everything is at a level where we feel very comfortable that we can, in our processes, get it to where it needs to be, just both from a performance standpoint on the knitting or weaving, and then also in the dyeing and finishing. It's very important. You can make a great yarn physically that knits well, does everything well, turns into fabric, but then when you dye it, put color on it, you could have issues, barre, immature cotton, different things. So
when you say, and too, Andy, that stepping away is one thing that I've always heard is we grow great cotton in the U.S.
Yeah. And
so part of making a good yarn is having a good resource, because I think some areas of the world struggle because if you don't have a good thing to start with,
That's correct.
yeah,
That's
it's
correct.
going to affect the quality of your product. So we're very fortunate. And that's why, as Amy said earlier, we live in a world where pretty much everything's made overseas, and hopefully with a wake-up call at COVID, we've got this great resource here. Let's stop shipping 98% of this around the world. Let's keep it all here in our area, and we can. And because you got the most important thing right here in our backyard.
And Amy, back to your question about fast fashion. Again, I think they're throwaway garments, and that's not good for everything else we all are concerned about today, landfills and ocean pollution and everything. But if you're wearing a garment twice and then chunking it into your garbage can, that's not where we want to be in this industry. I don't think, not long term.
Right. And we have to get people to also like start thinking about, as we're talking about this process for the 10,000 pounds of cotton t-shirts, and we see how many steps there are to actually make a t-shirt, the value of that it's not a $9.99 t-shirt, that, we have people on social media and emails that are already asking us, like, why on earth would we be charging $38 or $42 for a t-shirt when, they can go to Old Navy and buy them for $7. Like, you can also go to, Goodwill too and buy them for $4. But we're just trying to tell the story about why we're charging what we do, but also like what you are supporting when you are paying that amount of money, which is why we're here and doing this today. So Crystal Moody Wood, one of my heroes. Hi, Andy. What is the average working loss at each processing stage, from ginned, lint to sliver to roving to combing to ring spinning? And how do open end and air jet compare?
So on the ring spinning, it does have the most waste, but it depends on what you do. Parkdale is virtually zero waste company throughout all of our processes. So I showed Eric, we walked through the mill just a minute ago, and I showed Eric several spinning frames with yarns on it. We're making for the fabric, for the mattress ticking industry, and it is made 100% from our reclaimed fiber. So you got two types of ring spinning, or two categories: combed ring spinning and carded ring spinning. What we'll be making for Eric is a carded product. Combed is the highest end ring spinning product that we make, and it's so you're taking out the most short. When you take out waste, you're taking out short fibers primarily. In the beginning process, you're taking out vegetative matter, like I mentioned. But in the yarn processing, what we're doing, each process takes out a few short fibers here. In combing, you take out a greater amount of short fibers. And I can only speak to what from the gin to us. We get this product from the gin. In a ring spun carded product like Eric's going to make, it's probably around 5% total fallout, somewhere in that range, 5-6. And again, it depends on the year. It depends on, cotton's a natural product, so it depends on how Mother Nature treated this fiber while it was in the field. If you didn't get enough rain, you have some immature fiber. If you got a lot of rain at one time, then it dries up. You may have a little immature fiber in there. So some of that has to be taken out in the process, or you have dye spots, potential other breakage in the knitting, that kind of thing. So in open end has less waste, less processes. As I mentioned earlier, it has less processes than ring spinning, so it has a little less waste. It's below 5%, but it's probably 3%, something like that, in that range. And Vortex is between the two. Vortex is closer to ring spinning, but I'd say it's in the 5% range as well, as far as the percentage of actual fiber that falls out in the process. But back to my first point, we utilize all of that fiber. We're making something out of all of it, even to the point in the cotton. And cotton is king at Parkdale, as the video mentioned. We buy tons and tons on a weekly basis. We sell even the vegetative matter that we get out of it, we either sell or give away to farmers, make bricks out of it and give it away to farmers for their cattle feed and that kind of thing.
Right.
All right, thanks. Julie Moore, so far you've covered the fabric manufacturing very well. What about the thread that holds the garments together? Where does that come from, and who is spinning it?
Well, the sewing thread comes from several places. And Eric would have to answer that as far as what they're using. But there are companies that we don't make sewing thread. We make yarn for knitting, weaving primarily. So I don't know where your sewing thread is coming from. One of the two big guys, probably A&E or Coats America.
Right, but that's interesting. Thank you, Julie, for your question. But so y'all don't produce any of the cotton that goes into making thread?
We occasionally we sell some yarn to one of the thread makers, and they'll twist it or something to make but it's thread is normally, it's 100% cotton, or it's a lot of thread, as you know today, is polyester.
Ours is 100% cotton.
Yeah, a lot of it's polyester today, but yeah, there's still cotton thread out there.
So, Julie, that's a good question. What we'll need to do is we go the rest of our supply chain, and one of the stops will be with Opportunity Threads, who does the cut and sew of this particular project. So we'll go ahead and be ready to answer that question better when we're ready. And that's the whole great thing about what we're doing here. Transparency is about where you are today. Not that there's always room for improvement, but there's no secrets. There's no surprises. So, I don't have the, that's something that Opportunity Thread supplies in sewing the shirts, but we need to find out where that comes from and make sure we're talking about that. And that will be a topic for future discussion later this spring.
All right. It's with you guys both wearing our masks, which I think is interesting. Eric, how many times, like speaking of supply chains and being kind of nimble, like how many times did we like the iterations of that mask that we were able to work with our supply chain, working with our customers? They said it was too small, too big, elastic. They wanted to do something different. What was it, like 13 iterations of that mask based on customers?
Well, I would say 12 or 13 times. And what you're referring to, Amy, too, is, and again, what we're doing here, when you have a local transparent supply chain, is that you have opportunity to connect and communicate. And the relationship I have with Andy, I've known Andy for quite a few years with our whole supply chain, because I've been doing this a long time. But the strength of that really came out in our time of COVID, because, we're focused on domestic manufacturing. So, Andy literally lives probably 45 minutes from Burlington. And so it's just, we're seeing the strength, and hopefully as we come out of COVID, it's an opportunity to build these more local resilient supply chains and understand what we're doing, not only with t-shirt, but what we do with masks. I mean, we work with the company in Asheboro, and you're right, we made 12 or 13 changes. That'd be tough to do if you're in a COVID time and somebody's 10 time zones away in a different language to be able to do that. So you be a lot more nimble to do that. And we're super excited because we have all of the assets of grow, process, and manufacture natural fibers here in the Carolinas.
Yeah. And we also, by, keeping things local, we don't have to go out on cargo ships and container ships and wait for things to clear in ports too, which is great. Karis Robertson, good question as we're talking about this. So I'm wondering what the market for homegrown and homespun fabrics is like. Is this model currently economically viable? We hope so. If not, what do we need to do to make it so? Is there support for this model at the state or federal levels currently? Any thoughts you have on this are welcome and helpful. Thank you.
I like to say, at TS Designs, we say an educated customer is our best customer. And, apparel is a challenge because since NAFTA, we've been, how do we chase cheap labor to make a cheaper product? And as I did in a TED Talk a few years ago, 98% of our clothes are made overseas. Before NAFTA, 98% were made here. So it starts with education and transparency. And I think as more people become aware of just like where your food comes from, connect with your farmer, support your farmer. That farmer is real important, during COVID times when the grocery shelves are empty and you knew you could go down the road to get your eggs or your beef or whatever. So, it's not going to happen overnight. But we got to start somewhere, because what we have been doing with apparel is not sustainable. Not sustainable for the environment, not sustainable for the country, not sustainable for the economy. We've got to change. So we haven't, but again, we're so fortunate to be in the Carolinas because we can do it all here. So again, I think what we're doing here with Cotton Conversations is just bringing you into our supply chain Not that we're perfect, not there's a lot of room for improvement, but there's no secrets. Andy and I are talking about just this morning what's happening with the Uyghurs in China. And Andy, you've been saying you give a little, but that's been going on for years.
It's been going on for years, and it's just now getting press, a little bit of press. It's not even getting a lot of press, but enough press that it's scaring people. And you know, when you're producing garments on the other side of the world, and you're relying on someone else to look over everything, you're not seeing it on a regular basis anyway. You know, you're just taking a chance that I don't know how they sleep at night sometimes. I mean,
we did that with Bangladesh a few years ago. The worst apparel disaster in history. Over 1,000 people died when 8-story buildings never been built. Right. And now we hear about the Uyghurs. We're doing this because we're operating an opaque supply chain. You know, one thing we need to be moving forward, Amy, is, and I like to see, and I'll put Andy on the spot here, but I would like an end of it. I want people to know how to get in touch with Andy. They don't have to come to me or come to you. Here's Andy. Here's his phone number. Here's his email. Not like you need any more of those. Right. But I think it's important to, you know, put yourself out there. Again, not that you're perfect, not there's room for improvement, but there's no secrets. There's not going to be a Bangladesh surprise here at this facility.
Well, that's the beauty of operating in the United States.
Yeah.
Just that part of it. I mean, good companies do the right thing, but the United States pretty much make sure that you're doing the right thing.
There's some base of rules and regulations that if you're, you know, yes. So just join us for the journey, and the more people we connect and educate, the better world we'll make.
Yeah. And of course, you know, worldwide, there's challenges with environmental and ethical violations. And we've seen that happen in LA, and we've seen that happen in, geez, I'm on Cape Cod. I remember when the Fall River, there was a big Fall River, you know, they went into like mills and arrested all these people, and, you know, they weren't being paid fairly. So again, we have an open supply chain here. You can ask questions. And like Eric's saying, like Andy probably doesn't want 1 million emails, but you know, go Andy. Yeah. But you know, you can, but we have, this is all accessible. And we do have a link that I'll actually put it in an email that I will email to everybody that signed up for this, that you can see more about our tracking system for this t-shirt and our TS Designs t-shirts as well. It's like, it's up to you to do the homework, and we are doing the best we can with our own homework for sure.
I mean, real quick, you know, if you go to solidstate.clothing, which is our tracking system, when you look at yarn for even some other projects on Parkdale, you are the contact. So you can go to Solid State Guide, and your information is already out there. So you can find Andy.
Welcome. Yeah. Welcome to contact.
Yep. Hi, Carla. Can you speak to any regenerative farming efforts, and is that a current initiative? I've got a lot to say on that, Eric, but you kick it off.
Well, we talked about that with Andrew, you know, with our cotton farmer. You know, there's a lot of discussion with regenerative. You've got the organic. I think Kelly Pepper from the Texas Organic Cooperative was on with us today. We had a great discussion of the week with him and Josh Humphrey, the Croatan Institute. You know, how do we use agriculture to address one of our biggest challenge that we got out there, which is called climate change. So we're very aware of it. I think as we go up the supply chain, you know, there's not much Andy can do about regenerative agriculture. But what we can do is when we connect everybody together and everybody knows everybody's challenged, because that was interesting talking to Kelly Pepper last week, is, you know, I understand the challenges of the Carolina farmers have, but they also, the Texas organic cotton farmers had challenges. So I think topics like regenerative agriculture, or how do we address climate change, at least you're addressing at a larger group of people, and we're not working in silos. You're not just sitting here bringing the cotton in and producing good yarn. Hopefully what we're doing, Andy, is you can understand more of the challenges the cotton farmers having, or more of the challenges the gin's having. So again, we did a deeper dive in regenerative. It was something we're very supportive, but again, I like to say sustainability is a journey, not a destination. Meet us where we are, and then let's move forward together. And we're going to move forward together as a group more than as an individual.
Yep. Thanks, Eric. And I know, you know, we've been talking with large brands that are interested in maybe sponsoring and forming some type of a cotton collaborative or consortium for this project. And what's been interesting is what they're asking, what brands are asking us, is it regenerative? Is it certified in some way? And like Eric just said, this is an opportunity for us to work with the farmer where they're at. And if they have that willingness that they want to do things better, and we can get brands to actually support that and not just demand more on the farmers, that the farmer makes even less, then absolutely we will work with the farmers to do that. But again, that's why we're having these conversations. We're looking for everyone's support so that we can move this forward. We can pay farmers more. We can get them to do better things. And, as you know, again, I'm bringing up Crystal Moody, who's on here. Crystal took me around to lots of different fiber shed farms out on the West Coast now 2 years ago. And, we had conversations like, what do you feel about no-till farming? What do you feel about regenerative? How about organic? How about regenerative organic? And everybody had different thoughts on what they felt about that type of farming. Some people thought it was bull. Some people thought it was great. So it's interesting. And it's kind of like, moving forward, we want to be part of that, whether it's sequestering carbon or doing things organic, we want to be doing that. But again, we have to meet the farmers where they're at, and we're looking for your support for this.
Maybe I'd like to add one thing to that is because we all live in a world of some type of certification, Better Cotton Initiative, the organic cotton. And again, I'm not trying to take anything away because, we're a certification through the SpunLab's folks. But to me, what I've found in my 40 years of being in this industry, the most important driver is transparency. Because with transparency, you build relationships. Relationships, you can understand people's challenges, work hard. So, I'm just such an advocate and fan of, again, we're not perfect. There's always room for improvement. But there's no secrets to where our product comes from. And I just think that is so powerful moving forward. And that's the thing that we like to say with our customers. Know where your food comes from, know where your energy comes from, know where your clothes come from. When you know, you're empowered. And when you're empowered, you'll make better decisions.
Yep. And, I was writing down, I said at the very beginning, for those of you who weren't here already, that I wrote down a list of some of the types of people that are on this call right now. So we have farmers, we have educators, we have brands, we have a lot of food industry people on, designers, circular design companies, supply chain consultants, fiber sheds, and lots more folks that are on this. So we all have this kind of common thread or common idea of we want to do things better, starting with a t-shirt, and it's all really exciting. And I'm glad we're all just able to be here today to talk. So I guess we have 10 minutes left. So Andy, one of the kind of, I guess, more final questions. And again, if you guys have questions you want to throw in the chat, and again, I'd love to know why you're even here. Like, why are you here? Why is this conversation important to you? Why did you take out an hour of your day to join us? I'd love to see that there too. But so Andy, on the SpunLab site, it says, our goal is to be the most innovative yarn company. Can you tell me more about how you see being innovative in terms of spinning fiber, and how do you envision the future of what you're doing?
We at Parkdale at SpunLab, we try to be innovative in every part of the yarn making process. And I mentioned earlier, we have scientists and chemists developing fibers. So we're a spinning company that you'd think we would just take fiber from the different various producers of fiber, along with our natural fibers, cotton, wool, but we don't wait for somebody else to do it. We're very innovative. We go out and develop the fibers ourselves. And in the video they talked about SpunLab and Ciclo. That's two very good examples. Dye-True and Ciclo. Dye-True is a huge money saver on dyeing polyester. Ciclo is biodegradable.
Biodegradable polyester.
Biodegradable polyester, fully biodegradable polyester in ocean or landfill type environment. We invest a lot in automation, and that's so that we can keep our costs and to the point where Eric can afford to buy yarn from us. I mean, we all know how expensive it is for employees. I mean, unfortunately, that's part of the name of the game. You've got to get the level somewhere a happy medium between automation and employees. You're never going to do without employees, of course, in our business, but we automate a lot in packaging in the back of the mill when you finish making the yarn. And Eric saw we have robots, we have fiber, we have transport systems above the heads out there going over with different stops. We do, and I mentioned the fiber testing. We have in-house fiber testing. Again, not inventing the wheel, but we're making sure that we're starting with the best substrate there is, so that we don't take a chance. We don't get yarn out there and go, we think it's going to be good, we think it's going to dye properly. A latent defect in our business is very common when you get to the dyeing finishing stage. So we try to offset that. We work with designers and developers at many of the brands, retailers, to develop cotton heathers. Eric saw some of that running in the mill today. We'll dye cotton fiber, blend it with natural fiber, be it cotton, polyester. We work with, at SpunLab, we work with 30 some odd fibers. We make innovation from both styling innovation, like slubs, nubs, tri-blends, different ways of blending fibers together, all the way to the other end of the scale where we're making fire retardant yarns for firefighters, for electrical workers, line workers, that kind of thing. So innovation is part of our DNA, I'd say, at Parkdale, and certainly at SpunLab.
One thing I'm hoping for, Andy, and I know we got some hemp advocates on the line today, is I'm excited, and I think we're close. We're not there yet, but getting very close, where, you know, as we're focused on natural fibers, we're going to see hemp on this table here.
Right.
And I think that the hemp blended with the cotton, and again, we're working on it, but that to me is going to be a major milestone in my life to see us, again, grow, process, and manufacture hemp fibers in the Carolinas to partner up with cotton. And that's why we need your help again, too, is we want to build a hemp industry and not learn from the mistakes of commodity cotton. So the hemp farmer will be assured to make a living growing hemp. And we want to bring those two along. So, you know, I'm just looking down the road. We're getting closer every year, but, you know, I'm going to just, the day I walk in here and see that hemp coming in with the cotton, it's just going to be, man, make my day.
Yeah. And I would finish by saying, you know, the future, I think, you know, natural fibers, Eric just mentioned hemp, anything we can do in those type of products that are not really used today that much. I mean, cotton is king at Parkdale, certainly. We utilize cotton in most everything we do. We do some full synthetic blends, but not a lot. So I'd say our goal, our way I say our future in innovation is just to continue to utilize man-made fibers and the way that we're doing, like the C-Flow, like the Dye True, always with an eye toward sustainability, but also fashion. You know, it doesn't matter what you do, how great it is. If you put it on there and it looks like a rag, nobody's going to buy it.
And you're making it here. Not interested in taking that cotton, shipping it halfway around the world, so you save 50 cents to bring it back here. So we're just so fortunate to have Parkdale right in our backyard.
Right.
I think I would say Parkdale is the largest ring spun in the world.
We're one of the, I don't know if
Okay.
we're the, I think there may be one larger in China now, but we're one of the largest spinners
Okay.
altogether in the
We're
world.
just so glad to have you right here in our backyard.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Lots of people that are excited about the hemp and the cotton and all that. So Andy, another question. So can you speak to the volume distribution of cotton versus polyester versus flame retardant yarns versus rayon for the Parkdale manufacturing landscape? What percent is cotton of your total yarn volume produced a year, and what percent of that cotton is US based?
100% of the cotton is U.S. based. I can answer that very easily. As far as SpunLab's specific on the cotton, it's a little more than 50% overall. It's about 60, close to 60% of what we utilize here. Like I said, we've got very few 100% synthetic, but we do have some that are going into the FR business, FR trade. But most of our blends, even some of the FR, have cotton in them. As far as distribution, Parkdale company-wide, it's cotton is king. As I said, Parkdale's over 100 years old. It was set up as a 100% cotton company. We've added blends as necessitated by the customer's demands over the years. Going back to when cotton went to $2 a pound, as we all know, that kind of made the blends explode. I mean,
Right.
poly cotton was not that big even, and that was how long? That was 2000, whatever,
Yeah.
42.
It did happen.
Yeah, so that precipitated more and more blends, and then the customers accepted them and then liked them from a functionality standpoint. So polyester and nylon have become bigger products, and rayon as well, with blending with cotton. But again, cotton is by far the largest fiber we consume as a company.
Yeah, thanks for that. You know, I was talking with a large brand yesterday who was really interested, Eric, in this hemp kind of launch we're going to be having, you know, soon-ish. But, you know, there's like Carla Moda who's here is doing designing and saying a hemp cotton fleece and French terry, please. There's lots of designers who are interested in it and large brands that want a part of it. And, you know, we're having also a large demand of brands who are really interested in what we're doing with the 10,000 pounds of cotton project too. So it's exciting to see that people want to rally and get behind, you know, what we're doing. So that looks like all the questions from the chat, and those are all the questions that I had, Andy. And then, so Eric, can you just kind of, you know, Andy, first of all, thank you so much for meeting us and letting us in there and setting up and taking time out of your day to answer questions. We appreciate everything you do. And I know, Eric, can you talk more about what we'll be talking about for next month as kind of part 4 of our supply chain?
You say, Amy, Paul, run a show. You may close us out for the day.
Sorry, I threw that in, forgot to put that in there. Got to just be on your toes, Eric.
Yeah, well, again, Amy, thank you so much for coordinating this in the background with also on the team of Rosalind and Courtney. Andy, thank you so much for taking out of your time to come down here today. And thank everybody out there. You know, it's a journey, but we have an opportunity to build a future that benefits everyone, and we need your help. So please continue to join us. Become a part of the journey. Let's build a better world and a better community. Next month, I guess at the same date and time, and Amy will be following up. We will be at Contempora in Lumberton, North Carolina, with my other good friend Alex, and we're going to talk about knitting. So I'm not sure exactly. Will we have our yarn there at that time? I'm not sure, but it'll be close to that time. So again, Contempora and Alex is a friend of many years. Actually, we're using other fabrics right now today with some other product to make for Solid State. And so just excited to continue this conversation because we learn as much as you learn. You know, we're all in this thing together. So again, thank you so much for, you know, joining us today, spending an hour of your time, and let's continue to join the journey as we watch this t-shirt go dirt to shirt in about 500 miles all in the Carolinas. So this is one of the best assets that we have in the Carolinas is our ability to grow and produce natural fiber products. So again, thanks everybody for joining us today, and we'll call it a wrap. Amy?
Well, yeah, except for I'm going to plug the fact that people should check out I always have to write it down. I want to say solidstate.clothing, but Courtney, it's solidstate.clothing. Check out our new site, the 10,000 pounds of cotton project. Thanks, Courtney. The 10,000 pounds of cotton project is on there. We have a really beautiful film on there that's with Eric and Andrew Burleson, and it's a nice film. Check it out. And then also check out tsdesigns.com. I mean, we have all this, what we're going to be doing now, Eric, we didn't talk about this. So again, on the fly, but we are opening up the 10,000 pounds of cotton for wholesale, which will be up on our site soon. So Courtney's been running Solid State in the project for B2C. Now we're going to go B2B with our 10,000 pounds of cotton. And so you can get in touch with Eric. You can get in touch with Courtney. You can get in touch with me. But I will send out an email where you have all those emails and you can just get in touch. I'm sure like everybody has Eric's because everybody in the world knows Eric because he's been around since time began.
This is the air show. Okay, thanks everyone.
All right. Thank you guys. Thanks, Andy.
Yep, thank you, Andy. Have a good day.
All right.